episode 6 this morning.
They got a good job. Quick.
Just one right here. I believe so. Right there.
There, 7 o'clock, call meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Coffee. Daly.
Here.
Degler.
Here.
Eads. Here. Marvin.
Here.
Purdy. Here. Sanders.
Here.
Shook.
Here.
Streams.
Here.
Zupan.
Here.
Bell.
Here.
Metzger.
Yes. Roll, pledge allegiance and invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, we stand today as our forefathers have stood before you in times gone by, celebrating our history and reveling in all the great things that our country has achieved. At this time of the year, we rejoice in the favor you have graciously given us. We thank you for the blessings of liberty for this generation and for generations to come. We thank you for our independence, peace, and for all those who have bravely given their lives in defense of freedom and justice. We thank you that your gracious and provident hand has given us so much. In Jesus' name we pray. Minutes are in your book. Is there a motion to approve? Sanders, second by Purdy. Any questions? All in favor, roll call.
Daly.
Yes.
Degler.
Yes.
Eads. Yes. Marvin.
Yes.
Purdy. Yes. Sanders.
Yes.
Shook.
Yes.
Streams.
Yes.
Zupan.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes. We have 3 appointments to the Farmland Assessment Review Commission. Moving to reappoint James Wilson, Alan Metzger, and Douglas Courtney for 2-year terms. With advice and consent, roll call, please.
Daly.
Yes.
Degler.
Yes.
Eads. Yes. Marvin.
Yes.
Purdy. Yes. Sanders.
Yes.
Shook.
Yes.
Strands.
Yes.
Zupan.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes. Committee reports. Ms. Purdy, Building and Grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Building and Grounds Committee met at 5:30 p.m. June 25th with the following members in attendance: Mark Degler, Paul Strands, Rick Shook, and myself presiding. Brian Marvin was unable to attend. Also attending were Monty Walters, Maintenance Supervisor, and Elaine Parks Kamara, Administrative Assistant. In a maintenance update, Mr. Walters updated the members of the activities of his department as follows. 8 new fan coils have been ordered. NECO will grind up the asphalt in the parking lot south of the jail for $2,500. And the update on elevator repairs indicates that the project will be included in the 5-year plan. There was no old business, new business, or miscellaneous business, and the meeting adjourned at 5:40 p.m. on a motion by Mr. Degler, seconded by Mr. Shook.
Thank you, Ms. Purdy. Mr. Bell, Office and Rules.
Yes, sir. I have 2 county office and rules meetings. First one, the county office rules committee was called to order at 4 p.m. on June 11th. This meeting, we had to interview Andrew McNitt for the board review. There was no old business, no new business, no miscellaneous business. Mr. Donasso and Mr. Perry both spoke during public comment. The meeting adjourned at 4:50 p.m. on a motion by Mr. Zuhon and a second by Mr. Metzger. The second meeting. The County Office and Rules Committee was called to order at 4:30 p.m. on July 2nd. Mrs. Biddle updated the members on the activities of the property tax cycle. There was no old business. New business, Mrs. Reynolds presented the list of election judges for 2018-2020 to the members for consideration. Mr. Sanders moved to forward this to the county board. The motion was seconded by Mr. Zuhon. Motion carried. At this time, I so move.
Moved by Bell, second by Sanders. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Daly,
Yes.
Degler,
Yes.
Eads,
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Strands,
Yes.
Zuhon,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
The members were presented with a proposed electronic resources policy. This policy is a guideline for use of electronic resources of county employees, and these include email, voicemail, internet access, cell phones, and computer systems. It is attached, and Mr. Daly moved to forward this policy to the county board, seconded by Mr. Zuhon. The motion carried. At this time, I so move.
Moved by Bell, is there a second? Second by Daly. Questions? Roll call, please.
Daly,
Yes.
Degler,
Yes.
Eads,
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Sanders, Shook,
Yes.
Strands,
Yes.
Zuhon,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
There was no miscellaneous business. The meeting adjourned at 4:50 p.m. on a motion by Mr. Sanders and a second by Mr. Metzger.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Is there a 911 report?
We had a meeting. I'll have the meeting next month. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Eads, Emergency Food and Shelter Board.
No meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Finance Committee was called to order July 2nd, 2018 at 5 p.m. Treasurer's update was presented by Mr. Edwards on the activities of the Treasurer's Office. There was no old business. In new business, the members were presented with a resolution to amend the 2018 budget to include a camera grant for the Sheriff's Department. Mr. Zuhon moved forward this resolution to the County Board, which was seconded by Bell, and the motion carried unanimously. Is there a motion to that effect at this time? Moved by Zuhon, seconded by Shook. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Daly,
Yes.
Degler,
Yes.
Eads,
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Strands,
Yes.
Zuhon,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes. A tax sale resolution was presented to members. Mr. Sanders moved forward this to the board, seconded by Marvin, carried unanimously. Is there a motion at this time? Moved by Sanders, seconded by Mr. Bell. Questions? Roll call, please.
Daly,
Yes.
Degler,
Yes.
Eads,
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Strands,
Yes.
Zuhon,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes. Miscellaneous business, Chairman Metzger announced that this year's CPI, Consumer Price Index, is at 2.1%. Meeting adjourned at 5:25. A motion by Sanders, and a second by Bell. Health and Safety Committee was called to order June 25th, 2018. Also, those attending were at 4:30 p.m. Those attending were Paul Daly, Jan Eads, Rick Shook, Mike Zuhon, Stan Metzger, Chairman presiding. Also attending were Paul Strands, County Board Member, Julie Dieters, Care Center, Dan Ensign, EMA, Monty Walters, Maintenance Supervisor, and Lane Carpus, Commodity Administrative Assistant. Care Center update. Ms. Dieters updated members on the activity of the Care Center and distributed the monthly reports to members. See attachments. Mr. Walters and Ms. Dieters informed the members that the Care Center is in need of a new incinerator. The old one cannot be repaired. They received 2 quotes and recommended that the members authorize the purchase of a lower quote in the amount of $11,900. Total amount for shipping, handling, installation, use of the crane will be approximately Mr. Daly moved to allow this purchase using donation funds, seconded by Ms. Eads. Motion carried unanimously. The EMA update. Mr. Henson updated the members of the EMA office on the activities of the EMA office. Old business, the members discussed the solid waste roll-off program, and Mr. Zuhon updated the members on issues at the health department with Starbucks. There was no new business, there was no miscellaneous business, and the meeting adjourned at 5 p.m. A motion by Shook and a second by Daly. Mr. Daly, is there an insurance committee report?
No meeting, Mr. Chairman, but I will be attending the SERMA meeting next week in Bloomington.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No liquor commission report on, and we do not have the minutes from mental health report. Mr. Daly, Planning and Development Commission.
No meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Zuhon, Public Health.
No meeting.
Mr. Zuhon, Road and Bridge Committee.
Road Bridge Committee was called to order on June 25th at 5 p.m. with the following members present: Travis Coffey, Paul Daly, Rick Shook, Paul Strands, and myself presiding. Also attending Rick Johnson, County Engineer, Marlene Gross. Old business, there was none. New business. The members were presented with a resolution to award a contract for a bridge replacement on Township Road 137 in Ashmore Township to A.J. Walker Construction in the amount of $300,871.92. Mr. Strange moved forward to this resolution to the county board, seconded by Mr. Shook. The motion carried unanimously, and at this time I move forward.
Moved by Zuhon, is there a second? Second question. Strands? Questions? Roll call, please.
Daly,
Yes.
Dickler,
Yes.
Eads,
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Strands,
Yes.
Zupan,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson distributed a county bridge fund petition to replace riprap around the existing abutments where erosion has occurred. The county's share is $4,150. Mr. Coffey made a motion to forward this petition to the county board. Motion was seconded by Mr. Daly. Motion carried unanimously. At this time, I again move forward.
Moved by Zuhon, is there a second? Second by Daly. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Daly,
Yes.
Dickler,
Yes.
Eads,
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Strands,
Yes.
Zupan,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Item 3, the members were presented with a request for a portion on Highway 2 from the intersection at Highway 130 to the intersection of Highway 2 and the Coles County line to be named Adams Brothers Memorial Highway. It is in compliance with the county's honorary replacement policy. Mr. Strand moved forward this request, seconded by Mr. Coffey. The policy that we have in place, do we not need a motion? Then I will not carry that one forward. This is for information. Mr. Johnson distributed the county engineer's report. It is attached on overall projects. Miscellaneous business, there was none. The meeting adjourned at 5:20 on a motion by Mr. Coffey and a second by Mr. Shook.
Thank you, Mr. Zuhon. Do you have a public health board report?
No meeting.
Thank you, thank you. All right, we already did that, haven't we? Senior Citizens Tax Levy Committee, Ms. Eads.
Mr. Chairman, just as a postscript, before I start to read what we have, I thought you'd like to know a little bit about the Senior Citizens Property Tax Levy. It was created, the Senior Citizens Property Tax Levy was created by passing of a county referendum that passed March 18th, 1986. So it's been around a while in case you really haven't heard of it. We did have a meeting.
That's not going to go until next time because you didn't get it on the agenda.
But,
It's not going to go on the agenda until next time.
you mean as far as?
We want to wait, so we want to wait until we have official minutes to go forward then.
Oh, you didn't get the official minutes? We should.
Well, she gave it to me after the agenda was posted, so I told her she had to wait until August.
Oh, well, you're not talking about the appointment of Bonnie, you're talking about.
I'm talking about your resolution appropriating money.
Oh, okay, so then you want me to wait? Okay.
Yeah, wait.
Sorry, at least you know about the tax rate.
Thank you, Ms. Eads. We'll look forward to next month's report.
Okay.
Mr. Sanders, Sheriff and Law Enforcement Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff Law Enforcement met on July 2nd at 5:30 p.m. with the following members present: Brian Martin, Rick Shook, Paul Strands, Travis Coffey, and myself presiding. Also attending was Stan Metzger, County Board Member, Sheriff Timmy Rankin, and Elaine Carpus Kamada. We will read the reports. There was no old business, new business. Sheriff Rankin requested funds for additional vehicles, additional personnel, and to amend salary line item in the sheriff's budget. These matters will refer to the Finance Committee for consideration. And then we discussed county's personnel records policy. There was no miscellaneous business, and we're meeting at 6 o'clock with a motion by Mr. Strands and a second by Mr. Coffey.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders.
Thank you.
Supplies and claims, Mr. Sanderson.
All bills approved and paid.
Thank you. Is there any old business this evening? Any new business or miscellaneous business? No reason for executive session. We have announcements and appointments. We have one appointment to the Emergency Telephone Systems 911 Board next month. One appointment to the North Fork Conservancy District. One appointment to the Senior Citizens Tax Levy Committee. It is 7:14. Time for public comment. Mr. Perry.
You know, I left the board meeting kind of upset for what transpired last month. So a couple of things came out of that, and I'm going to address you, Stan, out in the hallway. You had a conversation with Rex Duke, and kind of what Rex is telling me is you want to discredit this piece of paper that I have here from Illinois Business Day, because you said that you were going to refute it. So what I did, and you can refute all you want, and that's fine, I went and looked up these people so we know who we're dealing with, who did this study, so we know that these numbers are accurate. I'll just read you a paragraph of what it says. It says, Adam Data Solutions is the curator of Adam, a multi-source national property data warehouse that contains tax deed, mortgage, foreclosure, environmental risk, natural hazard, health hazard, neighborhood characteristics, and property characteristics data for 150 million homes in the United States. So I'm going to guess that what we're showing you is very present, dear sir. It is what it is. And the material here that says we're third in the state for taxation countywide is true and correct. But I don't want you to refute what is really what it is. From that, I will move on. I want to talk to you about why we're in the shape we're in. And we're going to go back a little bit on time. You and 5 or 6 other folks that were around here for the last 10 or 12 years. Mr. Daly, are you watching or listening at all? Because you got your nose in that computer and I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. You're my guy from Paradise Township and I expect your attention in the meeting. It's not right.
Public comment.
It is. And you work for me, Mr. Daly. We're gonna go further with what's going on. The reason we got the problem we got over here is because you and your bandolier of guys that were on the board hired a couple of buffoons to begin with that couldn't figure out how to take care of the tax assessor's office. That's the truth. That's on record. That's on your record. And you fumbled around trying to get somebody to run it, and the lady that's there now has been in the office for 25 years, but for some reason, you felt like you had to hire buffoons, and you did. And then to increase the whole side of what's going on here, you hired 2 guys on the Board of Review that couldn't pass the test. And you put those people on the board as well. So your record doesn't show me that you know much of what you're doing. I'm sorry, you and 5 or 6 other of you don't understand what's going on. I don't think you understand the tax situation at all. I think you're oblivious to understanding what we're doing here. And it's shown by some of the things that you're doing. You're not working for the taxpayer, you're working for the taxing bodies. That's what this is. And I've been over here 18 months with the same problem that I had when I first walked in. We don't have any kind of closure of what's wrong. So we keep just aimlessly bouncing back and forth with what's wrong and not even doing anything about it. And then what you did, you highlighted things last month because you put a guy that was on the board that helped you hire them two buffoons. You're putting him back in on the board of review because you think that's good for us. Well, I disagree, it's not good for us. So I'm not happy with what happened last week. You didn't pick the guy that had the right kind of material in his back pocket. And I'm not saying the boy can't learn, and I hope that he does. But the point is, he has no compass of what we're doing here, and it's different in there than what it is in here. It's not the same. Okay. I went on to look at something else that came from the tax assessor's office, and I think this is kind of pertinent and really kind of interesting, and it's kind of mathematical, but I'm going to try to make it simple. I've got the assessor estimated EAV report by tax district since 2015 all the way through 2018. This has got a breakdown of all the property that we have in Coles County and how it's classified. We've got commercial, farm, industrial, railroad, mineral, residential, state railroad. What this is a breakdown by the EAV, which we continue to tell you that there's something going on with the EAV. And it's broke down, and I'm going to show you some numbers, and I'd like for everybody to kind of dwell on it. And I've done some things that kind of categorized it. I took all of the parcels, and I took commercial, I took farm, and I also took residential. And I'm looking at the first year, which is 2015. In 2015, there was 5,951 parcels of farm ground in Coles County. It was on the board at 128,601,705,000. That's what we had in farm EAV. Commercial property was at 141,755,161. And that was with 2,449 parcels. Last but not least is our houses, our residential homes. We had 17,218 parcels for that, and it was worth $372,513,522. Now, between the farm community, I took the numbers and I divided by the parcels. That's how I got these numbers. Between 5,951 parcels of farm ground, your per parcel effective parcel price was $21,610. When you take that $141,755,161 for the commercial property with 2,449 parcels, the cost is $57,882 per parcel. And when you go to when we go to the residential, there's 17,218 parcels at $372 million. Is $21,635 a parcel. That's average. That's the average. So I'm going to skip through the rest of it and get to 2018. Farm jumped from 128 to 156, and now your per parcel number is $25,524. When we get to the commercial, it's went up to $81,237 a parcel. And residential's jumped $27,249 a parcel. But here's what I'm saying to you. All the time we've been coming over here, we've been told that the EAV means nothing. It means everything. Because this is what all of the borrowing and bonding up and everything else is to be able to borrow money. That's what this EAV is all about. So in all three categories, the EAV is increasing. And we were told when commercial property was put up to go up, it was because we were going to level the playing field for the residential people in this county. Folks, you didn't do it. You didn't do it. You've raised it on them. So all three are raised. So the numbers that I want you to really get now, from 4 years ago to today, we've got a 15% increase in farm EAV. We have a 29% increase in commercial EAV, And we got a 21% increase in residential. So somebody's not telling the truth, or somebody doesn't want to fess up, but what we're doing is we're increasing EAV, which is increasing the cost of living here in Coles County. That's the long and short of it. I don't want to hear that EAV is not increasing, because it is. And these numbers came from the tax assessor's office, okay? The other thing I'm looking at, and I'm wondering about, is the way that the farmers, for some reason, no offense, you're paying what you pay, and it's not based on acreage or the cost of the ground. I get that. It's all done on what you make off the ground. The problem with that, when I look at these formulas, and I've got the bulletin too, and this is for the legislative changes that the state put out, the numbers aren't even close to what the value of the ground is, the market value of the ground. You guys are still setting at like $4,500 for ground, and I know that's not correct. I know what people are giving for farm ground. And along with that is a little map on the back. It's called PI. You know what that is? Okay, for Coles County, we're in the 119 to 126. That means pretty good soil. But as I've been looking through some of the parcels, I'm finding a lot of stuff that's cropland that's not even close to that number. So I'm going to look and find out why. Because that number ought to be, it coincides with everything else we're doing, because you came after the commercial property owners. So now what I want is fair and equitable treatment for everybody here. And that means that the farmers aren't getting paid like they should, or they're not paying what they want. I'm going to look into it. Okay? That's the long and short of it. That's what I've got to say tonight. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Donato.
I brought some visuals that I like to use. Well, I brought this. Not sure I know how to use it, but I'll set it up. I'll set it over here if you don't mind. Sorry. Everybody can see some of the stuff. Just need to make an adjustment, I apologize. I'm used to bringing these things in. I might need somebody's help. No, there's not. Someone want to hold this? Just gonna hold that for a second. I'll grab that over here. Try to be expedient. First of all, I appreciate Mr. Dilley, if you paid attention to this, please. I am a citizen of Coles County. We listen to you guys when you're giving a report. I guess that you won't acknowledge me and you keep looking at your screen. This is exactly the arrogance that I'm talking about. You might be wondering why after 19 months I keep coming here. Sometimes I wonder myself, but here's why. In the words of Thomas Paine, and I've said this before, that the elected may never form to themselves an interest separate from the electors. And I think that's exactly what's happening in this country at every level. The interest in this room with this board is separate from the interest of us, the people. Remember, it's supposed to be we the people, not we the government. So it's my duty as a citizen to speak out when something's not right. It's my First Amendment right. And so I'm going to speak out when something's not right at the county board level. And I'm going to stick with facts. I've brought facts here. I've tried to be factual every time I come here. We want honesty, transparency, and accountability. I don't think we've gotten it. And the more I keep digging into things with the county board, the more I keep finding things in FOIA requests, it just reaffirms that notion. Now, I realize not everybody here has some sinister purpose for being on the board. I realize some of you are legitimately here to serve, and I don't have a problem with that, and I commend you for that. okay? I commend the people who've made an honest effort to try to become more informed on the issue, especially this issue of the reassessment, so that when we present things, you'll have a better understanding of where we're coming from. Too many people on the board don't come to meetings that are of importance, and they don't listen, they don't know what's going on. They do other things. So I'd like to thank Mr. Coffey, who's not here, Mr. Strands, Ms. Purdy. I thank you for attending the last Office and Rules Committee meeting when we had I know you're not on that committee, I believe you're not on the committee. Become more informed on that. I appreciate that. As a citizen, I appreciate that. I appreciate when I FOIA request that people are prompt about that. It's good for government, to be honest. I appreciate Mr. Edwards has always been prompt. Every time I go in his office, I was in his office today, he called me this evening. I can't say that that's how it works all the time. I know people are busy, but I appreciate that. I recognize that. So basically, this presentation that I'm going to give real quick here and go through these visuals are for the ones who really do want to serve and are interested in knowing the truth. Because we could sit here and go back and forth, and you could say, well, Donasso has an attitude, this group has an attitude, and that's the way it is. But that's not it. These are facts. These are facts. And some of you may not be aware of the facts, because this is a complex subject. It is complicated. We've been studying it for a year and a half. So I'm just going to start, I'm going to read, and I'll go through fast. I know some of it, some of you have heard, but for the sake of Mr. Strands and maybe somebody who hasn't been on the board as long, maybe you'll give them a little background. All right, some interesting things have happened this year concerning Mr. Becker, and I've taken note. We know our group, and I'm speaking for our group, for a fact Mr. Becker was hired as an independent contractor. The evidence is overwhelming. We have Mr. Becker's bid to the county board. We have minutes from the Office and Rules Committee voting for his bid proposal to be forwarded to the county board for consideration. We have minutes from the county board meeting showing the county board voted for his bid for contract services. We have copies of Mr. Becker's invoices he submitted to the county board for payment. We have 1099 for the years 2016 and 17. We have emails with various county officials and employees stating he's a contractor, and we have the most damning piece of evidence in a letter by the board chairman. You've seen this before. This is a letter you penned, Mr. Metzger, to Senator Dale Ryder. It says in the first sentence, Coles County recently entered into a contract with an independent appraiser. He's talking about Mr. Becker. So let's put to rest, if you are not familiar with this, what has happened, that he was hired as a contractor. We don't have to debate that. These are facts. However, in 2018, the rules seem to have changed and everybody's playing fast and loose with Mr. Becker's status. I'd like you to look at something here. If you'll notice, and this is through FOIA request, this is a county order for payroll. I got this from the Supervisor of Assessment's office. If you look here at the employee numbers, okay, Mr. Becker is missing an employee number. In fact, under the employee name section, there is a series of numbers, and I pondered what could that possibly be. Well, I did a little research, and basically what that is that number correlates with the 2018 line item budget, industrial appraisal. And this 2018 budget actually shows 16, 17, and 18. And it shows some costs there. So there's no employee ID number. I also want you to take note of what it says right here. It says, as the Coles County Chief Assessment Officer, I certify that the above individuals have been employed in my office for the period indicated and are entitled to the compensation shown. This being in accordance with law and whatnot. Signed January 25th by the Supervisor of Assessments. This payroll order was from January 16th to January 31st of this year, 2018. That means the county is trying to show in an attempt that he is an employee, that he's not a contractor. That is in stark contrast to the way he has been paid. Because I have vendor checks from invoices that he submitted for the last 2 years. So now he's being paid differently, and he's only being paid differently is because when we came here to the board, we told you that A, it was illegal to hire him, you didn't have the authority to do it, and we even gave you the statutes. We named for you the statutes. And so what did you do? You didn't make it right. You went ahead and this year you decided now he's an employee. That's what you did. The whole time, the past 2 years, he was acting and still is acting as a contractor. And I'll explain why in 1 minute. So, the way the county's attempting to change his payment structure is nothing more than an attempt to appear if he was an employee of the county, which he is not an employee of this county. Not regarding the assessment. This is an invoice. These are the invoices that Mr. Becker has submitted for the past 2 years to the county board. He submits these and he gets paid. He gets paid $7,187.50. He's getting 16 installments at that amount of money, and that will fulfill his bid that you guys voted on in 2015, the May 12th meeting. Here is the check that you pay Mr. Becker with. This is a vendor check. Robert D. Becker, $7,187.50. Vendor ID number 1906. He does not have an employee number. It's blank. He has a vendor number. Employees do not submit invoices to get paid. Vendors do. Independent contractors do. There is a paper trail a mile long showing that you have paid him this way. There is no way you can deny he is a contractor, because he is. Now, there's something interesting though about this invoice. And I caught this. And I caught this because I'm a detail guy. I don't let anything go by me. If you notice, this invoice is dated January 12, 2018. Anybody see anything wrong with that? First glance, you wouldn't think it's just a date, right? There is something very wrong with this. And if you also notice, it says 8th quarterly payment for 16 commercial reassessments. That is incorrect. That is an errant document. I have absolute proof that that was his 9th installment, and I'll explain why this is important. That was his 9th installment of 16, not 8. By making this 8, it makes it appear as 2016, 2017, he was being paid one way, and then he gets to 2018, he's being paid another way. However, there's a vendor check right here that says 122.18 in the amount of $7,150, Robert Becker, for an invoice that he submitted on the 12th of January. Now, the reason I bring that up is because if we go back to this here, he submitted an invoice on the 12th of January, got paid on the 22nd of January, 2018, for his contract services for the reassessment. But here, on January 16th through 31st, he's getting paid as an employee. So he's getting paid as a vendor, and now he's supposedly getting paid as an employee, which proves all along that he was never an employee. This is nothing more than a sham attempt to try to show a payment trail of something he was not. I don't appreciate that as a taxpayer. I know for a fact that this invoice right here is invoice number 9 for the first quarter of 2018, not for the last quarter of 2017. That makes all the difference in the world, because it says right here on this county payroll order that she certifies that he's been employed in the office for the indicated time, January 16th through the 31st. So what happened between January 12th and January 16th? Did he all of a sudden get hired? Did he become an employee during that time? But the last 2 years in 16 and 17, he wasn't an employee because he was submitting invoices? Hogwash, we got a paper trail problem here. I think it's misleading. I can't go so far as to say it's document doctrine, but something smells fishy in Denmark. And I don't appreciate that at all. He's been paid like that, and I want to make it very clear. I'm not blaming Mr. George Edwards. He gets a payroll order, he pays it. That's all he does. I believe he's an honest man. But somebody in this room has come up with some sort of scheme to change the way you pay Mr. Becker to make it appear that he is an employee when he's not, and you know it, and I think it has something to do with the court case. And I think it's wrong. And that's where I'm going to speak out, because it is wrong. What should have happened from the beginning is, you guys should have just admitted we hired him wrong, let's start over. We pleaded with you in April of 2017, you said no. And now we're at where we're at. And this is a damning document. He is not an employee. Another thing, I sent an email to Elaine asking about Mr. Becker's Board of Review or compensation for Board of Review. I have that email with me. Her reply was no additional compensation for work with the Board of Review. No additional compensation for work with the Board of Review. So what is this here? This is even worse. 2016 session Board of Review Consulting. Here's all the hours. 50 hours. Notice the payment. $100 an hour, he gets $5,000 for 50 hours of work on the Board of Review. He's getting paid more than the Board of Review members are. Not just that, the payments are being made to him in 2018 through this sham system you got, is him trying to pose as an employee. When I asked whether he was getting paid and you tell me no, that means no, he's not getting paid. And you're back paying him for the past 2 years. Because we brought up to you guys that the Board of Review has no authority to hire him to do their work. And I realize that some of the work he's doing here is with the PTAB. We brought that out before. And the rest of it is with the Board of Review. So how can you reconcile this? How can you write an email to me saying no additional compensation, and then worse, you try to couch it in a payment you make to him in January 2018? By the way, this is the second time I made this request. I'm going to FOIA request everything that I FOIA'd over the last 2 years to make sure that it hasn't changed. This is outrageous. Either he's getting paid or he's not getting paid. Mr. Becker's making $115,000 for his work on the bid. He's getting paid an outrageous amount of money for his work for the Board of Review and work for any complaints that go to PTAB. Now, did you guys know that before this? Were we made aware of this? How many years have we sit here and tried to FOIA request? You guys have not been honest with us. And I'm saying this because Mr. Strands hasn't been here. Some of you may not have attended some of the meetings because I realize you're part of a certain committee, and one committee makes a recommendation and everyone has a tendency to go with it. But there's stuff going on here that's not right. It's not right at all. And if you think we don't know about it, we do know about it. Do you know any employee that would work for 2 years in this county and then get paid 2 years later if he's an employee? If he's getting a payroll check every 2 weeks? Have you guys gotten paid for 2 years ago work? Or do you get paid every month or quarter or whatever the agreement is? This isn't right, and there's a paper trail, and that's the problem. So when we come to you, you guys always think it's personal, and it's not. These are facts. And our government is not being honest with us. Our local government is not being honest or responsible with our money, and it's time we stand up and stop laying down and do what's right. You need to do what's right. I'm going to keep digging and digging and digging until this thing gets resolved. And believe me, our attorneys know this too. This does not look good for the county. It does not look good for the citizens of Coles County. We don't need this kind of press. We had a Hitted Sports closed. We got Pagliacci's closing. There's another restaurant going to close. We're in a depression right now in this county. We should be talking about what we could do to stroke the fires to get economic development. Instead, we're raising everyone's taxes. We're lying to the taxpayer. We make enemies and enmity between the government and the taxpayers only because we're not being told the truth. I'll tell you what, you want to get rid of me and our group? Tell the truth, be transparent, be honest, and do your jobs. Show up, Mr. Degler. Mr. Daly, pay attention to your citizens. Don't play poker or whatever it is you're doing that's so interesting on it. You work for us, sir, and so do you, Mr. Degler.
All the citizens.
And I'm a citizen, and I deserve during public comment no. He does this every time and it's wrong. This is the arrogance we're sick and tired of.
Calm yourself down.
Want me to calm down? Show a little courtesy and respect. Something you don't know anything about. Can I please have that, sir?
Okay, thank you. Terry,
All right, he was pretty compelling. If he's got anything additional, or if Mr. Perry has anything, then I'll be
well,
first.
he's, I think, used your time and
We got the rest of
Jan,
the off, so that's the main thing.
Jan, are you?
No, I'm waiting for
David Perriman? I'm good. Charles Stodden?
I think enough's been said.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Degler, second by Shook. Roll call, please.
Stan?
Yes, sorry.
Les?
Yeah, I'd like to speak.
I'm sorry, I didn't, I normally ask if there's additional comment, I should have done that. Mr. Combs?
Yes. I'm coming to address the board. After that, I don't know, I'm not gonna help you. Actually, I'm gonna reinforce the gentleman here. I was asked by people to investigate and look into the dumpster issue. In looking in it, I was kind of disappointed with what I found out. What I found out was that no way did the EPA approach this board, inform this board to end this issue or to stop it. In fact, to the contrary, they would rather have this than the consequences of it. Basically, the situation is that if you board members or the Regional Planning Commission don't believe this is a serious problem and an issue, if you would like to give me your home residence, I would be more than willing to pass that on to the road commissioners that are already picking up open dumping. That is why this was done, contrary to individuals who think that because there are some rural area pickup, don't understand that that is trash pickup and that what's over majority of the material that goes into a dumpster for the municipalities and the counties are building material, house doors, windows, exercise equipment, steel cabinets, additional stuff like that basically you find in open dumping. Basically, furthering into this, finding out that the EPA did not approach this board, it's like, okay, then how did this get in the paper? What has transpired? Investigating it further, I found out that Mr. Bauer was asked to do so, and that he was asked to find a way to cancel this program legally. Basically, my understanding is why else would he be looking into it? There has not been an issue with it. There hasn't been a problem with it. So why would he even be looking into it? And he's doing his job. He was asked to do it, from my understanding, from what I was told. And from my understanding, that there was another entity that wants the money that is funded for that, which I've been told is approximately about $100,000. Now,
That's just a question here. You don't dispute that it is against the transfer program, the dumpster program is against EPA regulations, correct?
actually, no.
You don't agree with that?
No, but I actually, with Dale Ryder, is able to remedy that situation.
Well, but the county believes that it is against, that what we're doing has been against EPA rules, regulations,
It's
law.
been against the EPA regulations for over 20-plus years.
Exactly.
And the
But
EPA
however, we don't want to knowingly do something that is illegal.
Well, the thing is,
You may not, listen, you may not you may want another 18 months.
the thing is why was it even investigated? There's never been a trouble, there's never been a question, unless there was asked to be,
So what if they show up and charge us with it next month?
and stuff. Do what?
What if they show up and ask for their penalty collection next month?
They're not going to. They relayed that unless hazardous waste or other material.
Can I ask, okay, what you're saying here, if you're right, If they don't care about this, and there's not a problem, they're never gonna show up on our doorstep, if you can provide that in writing, then we can, but see, the problem is, what they told you verbally, you don't have in writing, do you?
No, Dale Ryder,
Will you
no,
provide that
hang
to
on a
us?
minute, hang on a minute, and let me speak. Dale Ryder asked how the solution could be solved. And you board members actually should have done this, because your duty is to the taxpayers.
Amen.
Funding is raised to address this issue because it was a problem. And because at the time it was initiated, there was no rural trash pickup. And there still isn't in all areas. It still is a problem. Dale Ryder asked me, how can the solution be solved? I said, it's very easy, it's very simple. You address the EPA, who doesn't want this problem anyway,
Sure.
and he says that he should be able to get it through very easily, is that the county will be given an exemption for a quantity per site. Okay? In other words, if you're allowed 2 dumpsters or you're allowed 1 dumpster, that's tonnage, because I work also in the construction company. You're based on 6 tons to 8 tons based on volume and size of your dumpster. Most townships are getting 20-yard dumpsters. Okay? Basically, what Dale Ryder thinks that he can do, and is pretty sure that he can pretty easily, is to get to where that dumpsters can be exempt from the thing, because even the EPA said they think it's a loophole. It was a missed thing because it wasn't covered, because they think it is a good service, both for the county.
We do too. We didn't want to end this. I'm not on that committee.
Not all, but I understand there was one party that did.
Oh, well, not me, not the people on that
Okay,
committee.
I didn't say the board.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the other thing is that I understand, and I want to reiterate this, because this is, and Mr. Bauer can look into this and find this out, find out that. My understanding with the program ended, with this funding here, that somebody wants to latch onto that funding. Now, my understanding of the statutes is that if you have a designated funding that is appropriated for a specific service, and that the individuals, also the townships, donate to that service, it then, if it is service is suspended or ended, that either the taxing body has to credit both the township and the taxpayer for that charging fee, or to reimburse it. And that can be found in the taxing laws and the taxing bodies. And I think that, as good as Mr. Bauer is, I don't think he'd have a problem in finding that. Basically, what would happen is it would be called misappropriation of funds if it was attached and used elsewhere without the people who designated that for that specific issue. So that's why I wanted to come here after my investigation, what I was told, and bring this information to you. If you are willing and want, which I've been told you don't want, you've been wanting, and I'm sorry, I'm not telling you what I've been told. That's why I'm here. If you truly are interested in maintaining this program, Dale Ryder, who has asked me to come here, is more than willing to work with you to help save this program and keep it implemented in the county.
And I spoke with Dale Ryder on the phone. It was after the big rain there, so whatever, June 10th rain, and so I spoke to him a week or so after that, and told him, when the EPA can get this squared away, we're willing to go forward with the program. Time is limited though, because the fund, the tipping fee fund that funds it from the county perspective, I don't know about the townships, but from the county perspective, that money is limited and dwindling. The contract.
Why is it dwindling?
Because it's the tipping fee fund and it's no longer being.
We don't have a landfill.
We don't have a landfill.
So what funds it is dwindling?
That money was funded 10, 15 years ago, a while ago, and was substantial. I don't remember what total it was.
So where does the money go if it's dwindling?
To pay for these dumpsters. They're not cheap.
But they're not servicing.
What's our annual budget on this, Kelly? 45, 50,000?
It's 42,000 total, but 21,000 comes out typically.
Yeah.
But that service has been terminated, so why would it continue dwindling?
It's not being dwindling right now. The service has been terminated. But if we go back to having the dumpsters provided, it's a limited.
Well, I understand that the program was to phase out or come up for reevaluation in 2020.
right? The current contract with the dumpster provider is up for renegotiation in what year?
February 2021.
Okay.
2021.
Yes.
And even though the county, I don't think the county, excuse me, but even though the county could not probably continue to pay for that, I think at that time we can negotiate a lower price for the dumpsters, lower than the townships could get based on our current contract.
Well, I would think so, because as a commercial contractor, I'm given a discount.
Yes.
And basically, I wouldn't know why they wouldn't give us, the large volume you're dealing with, I wouldn't understand why you can't get a discount accordingly, especially at the amount of money they're looking at.
Correct.
I do know that they have additional charges for the add-on tonnage, that their Pacific limit on the tonnage, and then any additional tonnage that is on that is an additional charge and stuff. So,
Other issues we face with this is misuse of the program. TVs are not allowed to be in the dumpsters. But
Correct.
They are. And when they are, somebody's out extra money. There was a Facebook post here this winter, and it was, how do I get rid of my 55-inch flat screen TV? And very quickly, a person jumped on Facebook and gave the schedule of where the county dumpsters are. First off, you're supposed to use the one in your neighborhood, not travel around the county or come in from other counties to use it, which happens a lot. Coles County taxpayers are paying for Douglas County and Cumberland County and et cetera to come up and unload their trash on us.
I've understood that, but I know that in my particular township, I know that it's well monitored. And
That's good.
And basically, the road commissioner is present during the time. Now, I do know that if the dumpster is not picked up when it's full and it's left over the weekend, what you're saying happens. And then the road commissioner has to pull that material, or at least ours does, out of the
We
dumpster.
fully understand there's a problem with rural dumping, roadside dumping. I pulled a TV out of my farm ditch already this summer too, so. And
Well, it's in my opinion, and the people that have approached me, is that if you think it's a problem now, with this service ended, it is going to become a huge problem. In fact, it has already started, both in the municipalities and in the rural area. And it's not going to do anything but get continually worse with the situation. And the taxpayers, at least the ones I have talked to, have no problem in negotiating out taxing fees to cover those services. So I don't think that if you bring that up, if you can get it reinstated, and Dale's able to do what he says he can, and able to do that, I don't think you're going to have a problem with the people backing you on this particular service, because in my opinion, it's a needed service. And if not, I'd like to know why and who doesn't think so and why they don't think so. So that is what I wanted to talk to you about, and inform you what I have found out, and to let you know that Dale seems to think that he can address this issue.
And I had the same conversation with him, and hopefully he can.
And like you
When
said,
they do.
he wanted me to make sure that you guys were interested in pursuing that, or if you were wanting to axe it, like we've been told.
We are interested in going forward with the program, but its time is probably limited as the money to fund it is limited.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wants to speak this evening? Motion to adjourn, Gailey, second by Degler. Roll call, please.
Gately?
Yes.
Degler?
Yes.
Eads? Yes. Marvin?
Yes.
Purdy? Yes. Sanders?
Yes.
Shook?
Yes.
Strands? Sinham?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Metzger?
Yes.